All right, guys, I'm going to try to also explain this to you with some of the pictures. Um, Please no judgment on the messiness of my house in the background. Okay? So you will be getting this image that you see on your screen for your notebook. Okay? They will be flaps, and they give you picture examples as well as some graphics on the differences between the different types of natural selection. Okay? So I'm actually going to add a couple things in here while I have you uh, on the screen. Okay? So where you see my text box, this first one on the left where we have the movement of the line to the left, so your phenotypes here are short, medium, long. Okay? So the image at the bottom, you have the two lizards, and we're talking about the lengths of their tails. Okay? So in this case, we are selecting four, and these are the ones that do the best, is one extreme trait. And the one that is selected for against, the ones that don't do well, are the other or the opposite extreme. Okay? This is an example of directional selection. Okay? So directional will move from one extreme to the other. Okay? The line, meaning that the bell curve, will move from one side to the opposite side. And the next one, the one in the center, okay, where the selection against both extremes, so we're selecting for the moderate trait, which is the average trait, and selecting against the extremes on the left or the right. So again, we're still looking at short, medium, long. And in this case, we're looking at tails on, I'm assuming those are supposed to be tigers. Okay, so it is best to have a medium length tail in this particular environment for the tigers. Tigers with short tails and tigers with long tails do not do well. Okay, so in an instance where we are favoring the intermediate, this is stabilizing selection. Oops, sorry, did not mean to do that. Okay, stabilizing selection. These are the ones that do best in this particular environment, where the average, it is best to be average. The last one on the far right, this is the one that I was referring to in the YouTube post as kind of looking like an M. Okay. So we have where we are selecting for both extremes. So the far left and the far right, and we're still using the phenotypes of short, medium, long. And we are selecting against the moderate trait or the average trait. So in this sense, it is best to be different. Okay? The organisms with the different phenotypes are the ones that are going to survive, reproduce, and pass on their genes. Okay? This is an example of disruptive selection. If I can spell disruptive selection. So in your diagrams here, if you just follow my mouse, okay, so the green, the shaded in population is after selection. The dotted line, okay, the dashed line, is your original population, what you're starting with. Okay, so if we started with medium is best, okay, if it's directional selection, this average shifts to the right, moves in one direction, meaning that the longer traits do best. If we look at the stabilizing again, where the, sorry guys, where this, the dashed line is your original population, what you're starting out with, where again it's, where it's favoring the average. Okay? But we also have higher sides on the short and the long. If both extremes are selected against, that area squishes in, okay, and causes that average trait to have a higher frequency. So this is stabilizing, where the average, the intermediate, is best. Okay? And if I look at the disruptive again, the dashed line is your original population, what we're starting with, and then the shaded in green is after selection. Okay? So if in the beginning, the average or the intermediate, the medium length tail, does best, but after the selection process and changes in the environment, where medium tails no longer do really well, but short and long do best. So this arrow, where this arrow is, this dashed line kind of gets pushed down. Okay, meaning that there aren't as many squirrels in this example with medium length tails, but the number of short length and long length went up. Okay, so this is where I'm talking about the solid green kind of looks like an M. Okay, anytime you see M in a graph like this, okay, if it looks like a M shape, that is disruptive. If it is squished and tall and skinny, it's stabilizing. If we move to one side, either to the right or to the left, it is directional. Okay, so again, we're going to be putting this in your notebook. Okay, but let's look at another example here. And I know my little webcam is in the wrong place. Okay, so the number of individuals is on your y-axis, and the trait is on your x-axis. Okay, you're not really given the phenotypic trait here, but you're given a couple of examples. So this stabilizing example is what we're starting with. This is our original population, and it's the same across the board. Okay, the selection selects against both extremes in stabilizing. Okay, so I am so sorry. So that solid blue line, it gets squished in, okay? And the number of individuals with that average trait increases, okay? So tall and skinny, that's stabilizing, okay? If I look at directional, okay, again, started the same amount of individuals as the first one. Now we're selecting for one of the extremes, either the extreme left or the extreme right, okay? So if I follow down, the red line shifts to the right. The hump, the bell curve, shifts to the right. That's directional, moves in one direction, either to the right or to the left. Okay, move my little webcam thing there for you. Okay. If we look at disruptive, again, we are starting with the same that we have in all three. Now we're selecting for both extremes, where it is best to be different. Okay, average is no good in this point. Different is best. And then we get this red M shape, okay, disruptive. There are a couple of other little examples I want to show you. Okay. So this is an example of stabilizing. I talked about this a little bit in the live YouTube clip. Okay. So robins typically lay 4 eggs. An example of stabilizing selection. Larger clutches, which is basically a plot of eggs, kind of like a litter of puppies. Larger clutches may result in malnourished chicks, while smaller clutches may result in no viable offspring. Okay? So if a bird has too many eggs, the mama bird can't necessarily feed all of the babies, and they will be malnourished. Okay, they will not have enough nutrients. But if the mama bird lays too few eggs, okay, less than 4, then some of them may not survive. We got to think about predators. Think of survival of the fittest. Okay, so robins that lay 4 eggs, okay, tend to have the best results. So the population after selection squishes in, it stabilizes, okay, at 4 eggs per clutch. Stabilizing selection, where you have the blue line is your original population, red line is population after selection. Okay. So if I look at directional as my next one, okay, so again, the blue line is your original, and the red is after natural selection has occurred. Light-colored peppered moths are better camouflaged against a pristine environment. Likewise, dark peppered moths are better camouflaged against a sooty environment. Thus, as the Industrial Revolution progressed in the 19th century England, the color of the moth population shifted from light to dark as an example of directional selection. So those of you in my honors class, you've already gotten this picture with your frequency of traits notes. So the original population favored the white-colored moths. As the environment changed because of the Industrial Revolution, the darker-colored moths started to do better. So the pattern of traits, the frequency of the traits shifted to the right to favor an extreme. Because we know we have white, we have gray, and we have black. Okay, so in the end, after the Industrial Revolution, the black colored moths did better. So that is directional, moving in one direction. Okay? And the last one is disruptive. Okay? So again, your blue line is your original population, and the red is after natural selection has occurred. In a hypothetical population, gray and Himalayan, which is gray and white rabbits, are better able to blend with a rocky environment than a white rabbit, resulting in diversifying selection. Okay? Diversifying selection is the same thing as disruptive. Okay? We refer to it as disruptive. Some other countries refer to it as diversifying. I just liked this image. So you have a black bunny, a white bunny, and a Himalayan bunny. The Himalayan bunny is black and white at the same time. So a little ipso facto here, black and white at the same time. What type of Punnett square would that be? Would it be codominance, or would it be incomplete dominance? Okay. Let me know if you figure that out. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to figure it out. Okay. So in this situation, a hypothetical population, the white bunny does not do so well. So his numbers decrease where this red line is. But the black bunny and the Himalayan bunny, they got it made. They're going to survive, reproduce, and pass on their genes. So I get this red shape, which is that M that I was talking about. Okay? The M pattern becomes your disruptive selection. Okay? So hopefully this also helps. Thank you for those of you who tuned in and watched the live version of this. I know I went fast. We had some maintenance going on at the house, so I wanted to try to get done fast without having y'all wait. So if you have any other questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Remind, email, comment on the YouTube thing. I will be available until approximately 3 o'clock this afternoon to answer questions or help with the Digital Learning Day assignment. Please remember that your Snap Lab is due tomorrow, fully completed. If you missed anything, particularly Stations 2 or Stations 3, those are available to you on eClass. Just make sure you sign in and it's in the activity feed under Snap Lab. Everything should be there. Hopefully that helped. I'll see y'all tomorrow.